I want to talk about your thoughts on the importance of doing conventions and what the focus of doing conventions is. Because I always ask them, well, what are your goals? Because if you tell me you want to work for Marvel and DC, it's like, I don't even know how to advise you, because at the big shows where Marvel and DC is, can you even find editors? I mean, both companies used to have the editors right there at the booth.
Yeah.
So you could just walk up to an editor and drop off a sample packet, but those days are gone. This is the Inkpulp Podcast. Pew, 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 pew. Dude, Jamie's editing is just so good. The commercial we recorded for the Ryan Benjamin episode is so funny. And he did it so fast.
Yeah, man. He is quick. Like, we reminded him of that because he forgot to do it, and like an hour later he had it done. So good job, Jimbo.
Jamie, you the man.
Well done, Jimbo.
Round of applause. All right, everybody. Whew, just settling in. Welcome to the Inkpulp Podcast with the Fratelli Bros.
Welcome.
Well,
speaking of our commercial, we're supposed to be having Ryan Benjamin like right now, but there must have been some miscommunication or something. So he's not here. Yes. We're waiting for him. In the meantime, we decided to start recording. So it might be a full episode of just us. Shooting the shit. Us. Shooting the shit, or he might pop in anytime. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. I mean, isn't it okay? Racist moment. I mean,
oh no!
Do I have to say it? Are we already?
No.
Are you already?
Oh my god!
Thinking what I'm thinking?
Yes, of course. I
black
think
people being
saying,
late.
Oh no!
Isn't it something like I've heard it on a podcast? Like I've heard it on a podcast last month about this thing. They were making jokes about the fact that there's a stereotype. There's one of the stereotypes about black people being late.
When you said that, I just knew what you were saying. Although not because I don't think I know.
You haven't experienced it, but you know about the stereotype.
No, I don't. It was just the way you said it made me think like, oh, that's what he's going to say. I don't know that stereotype. The stereotype I know, and is Latin culture. Latins are always late. And that's just cultural. Like they don't live by the clock from my experience. And so they call it Latin time. Like even the Latin people call it Latin time. So it's like, if you say the party's at 8:00, you have to say, but that's not Latin time. That's like the time. So let's say 7:30 Latin time or 7 Latin time.
Yeah.
But when you said this is going to be very racist, I knew exactly what you were going to do.
What this one together with I think it was the Patreon episode when I said that black people love weed. We should have a moment, like a specific moment with a logo, with my made up racist moment of stuff that maybe I've heard or I made up in my head.
Yeah. Jamie could make a little like a bump, as they call it. Matteo's racist moment.
Yeah, but it's always there's always something that kind of justifies it. Like for example, now it's just stuff that I've heard on a podcast, and in regards to black people smoking weed, it's because the only times, especially when I was younger, I was exposed with black culture was through hip hop.
Yeah,
and weed was one of the main subjects in lyrics and stuff. Well, with murder and
but to be fair, you grew up listening to metal, and there's a lot of weed references in metal. Maybe not. It's not like hip hop, but yeah. I mean, metal's pretty steeped in weed culture. I think Down was like the first metal band to really celebrate weed more openly.
It happens when it's mixed with stoner culture for sure.
Yeah, stoner metal, which is my kind of metal.
It's more trippy than actual, like, the fact that you do weed, if that makes sense.
Right.
That you use smoke, that you use weed, you know? Yeah,
that's true. That's a good point.
So again, there's always a little thing that kind of saves me until, you know, I'm not salvageable anymore and I'll get canceled probably.
What are you gonna do,
one step
Mattteo?
at a time, I'll get there.
Let's talk about so I think Jamie just needs a meter, like 0 to Matteo's cancellation, and every time you say something,
the bar goes
we'll
up.
Have the little we'll have the little Inkpulp logo will go up. But
I gotta find ways to get it down as well, so I can balance.
Right,
you know?
right. How do you get it down? After you said that, how do we get it down? You got to make people love you again.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we say in Italy, which is it's racial, it's not racist, is that they have the rhythm in their blood, which is a good thing. Yeah, okay. So I should should get, you know, my bar should go down a notch now.
Okay.
It's still a stereotype, so it's not that cool, but
yeah. I don't know if that brought you down or just stopped it from rising. It's like you hit the ceiling of that moment.
Oh my God. Jesus, I'm still sick. Fourth week in a row.
It's been a rough winter for sicknesses. Like, you've been constantly sick. I've been like sick. I get better. I get sick. I get better. Only one of them was really bad, but I have a little cold now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just tired of it. I'm ready for the warm weather. I'm ready for the fucking heat to come back. I need a beach vacation.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
Oh yeah.
We'll get there.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to see any beach vacation this year, but
we're talking about in the fall, maybe we're going to do one.
Oh, so is there places? Well, yeah, you have California, probably Florida as well.
No. Dude, the fall here in Atlanta is still warm, and the beach that we drive to, when I say fall, I mean early fall, like early October, late September.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's like,
and you can
like
bathe,
75.
you can actually swim in the sea.
Well, because the water is still warm from the summer. It takes a little while to cool down. But if you go early in the season, because we go to the Gulf Coast in Destin, if you go there in like April, the water's still cold. It hasn't warmed up yet. So if you go in September, it's great. It's a great time of year to go because it's not crowded. And it's nice and warm, but not hot. It's not like if you go in July, it's brutal. Like, it's so hot, and the water is so warm. It's almost like I don't even think that's a good time of year to go.
Sounds like similar to the south of Italy, I would say, like Apulia, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It starts to get like, you can sometimes, if it's a good year, you can start going to the beach around May. And it will probably, you get to enjoy it until late September. So it might be similar.
Yeah, it's probably the same. Yeah. I want to ask you about that. So I've been drinking a lot of wine from Puglia, and I've been looking at a lot of pictures of Puglia. Is that's on the west, the East Coast, right?
East Coast is basically, if you consider Italy as a boot, that's a hill, basically. That's Apulia.
And is that where your family's from, around that area?
My father's family, yeah.
Okay, that's my next place I want to see in Italy is Puglia. I really want to. Check.
Well, in that case, I have all the places, like wherever you want to do. Like, I'll have all the things to do for you.
Well, here's what we should do. Do. We'll fly into Milan or Florence. And we'll come to Parma, and then we'll go to Puglia. How do you get down there? Do you drive or do you take a train?
I would suggest take a train. I mean, you can drive. It's like from Parma, I would say, depending on where you want to go, because Apulia is like, how do you say? Like it's long and thin.
Yeah, long and thin. Yeah. Like what, Matteo?
Exactly. Yours, which is, I got told that long and thin is not ideal. It's better, maybe shorter but girthy, right? How about your preferences?
So. My preference.
Gotcha.
Definitely.
The good thing is that you were starting to answer, so shame on you.
Yeah. Well, I was going with the joke. I was
okay.
Okay.
So depending on where you wanna get, it might take a few extra hours, So, but generally speaking, I would say it will take you between 8, 9, 10 hours.
Oh, that's a drive. I'll take the train.
Yeah, that's a drive.
I think the way to do it, because I really want to go back to Rome. Maybe we take a train down to Rome, do a few days in Rome, then take a train to Puglia.
You could do that, or another thing you could do is just fly. I mean, there's flights from Bologna to.
Oh, that's probably cheap. That's probably
Puglia.
Cheap. Actually,
and then you can rent a car in Puglia once you land.
But we can go. We'll bring both our families and we'll go have a little Puglia vacation.
That'd be great. Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of the Mediterranean, our friend Jim is in Greece right now, and I have a mess. Yeah. So the organizers of the show asked Jim if they could get all three of us there next year for the show in Greece.
Awesome. Where do you remember? Do you remember where?
Athens.
Oh, in Athens. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm actually like, I have really fond memories of Greece. I remember I did a really, really, really small show in Athens, and it was 2011, 2012 probably. And they invited me there, and I just broken up with my girlfriend at the time, and I was one of the many times we broke up, and I was like not in the mood for traveling, for doing anything. I was fucking depressed, and I remember I arrived there, and in the afternoon I was already looking for flights back. Because I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And by the evening, I had already changed my mind. It was so fucking awesome. Like everyone was incredible there.
That's what Jim said.
Yeah, it was amazing and an amazing experience. And I still have, memories from that experience. I had so much fun.
It was what made it fun? Like, what were you doing?
The people that were there, the people that were working there, the organizers, in general, they're super welcoming. They welcomed me in the group. Plus, there's a great thing. They all, at least the young people, they all speak amazing English. So it was really easy to socialize with them.
Okay.
And yeah, they took me out every night. We had fun. They liked to party. And back then, it was, it was more than 10 years ago. So I was young, still up for, a nice night. So we had a lot of fun. And I keep getting invited every year. And I got to tell this guy, one day it will happen. I keep getting invited at a Thessaloniki show. And Vasilis Fotsinos. Hopefully, I'm not butchering his name. And he's inviting me every year, but I never go.
Slolos? Is that what you said? Vasilis Slolos? Artist?
Vasilis Fotsinos. I think is the. He organizes this show in Thessaloniki. And by the way, I spoke to Dani, and she told me that it's a great show. It's actually a fun show. So
does she live in Greece? I know she's Greek. I didn't know she was.
Yeah, I mean, lately she's been traveling a lot, but she until at least a few months ago she was living in Greece, And
great.
And yeah. Oh, by the way, Danny Streep. Shout out to Danny Streep.
Yeah. So you know
she's
her.
Amazing.
You know her pretty well?
Yeah.
You think she'd want to do the show? She'd be great to have on the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, great idea.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That'd be awesome.
So yeah, again, I keep getting invited to the show and I never go in the end. And I'm sorry, it will happen one day. I don't know if soonish.
This is a good conversation because we've talked a lot about conventions and the big shows, how they're becoming very corporate and they're not as enjoyable to do. And we're looking at smaller shows, and I think they're more enjoyable. They feel more like a Comic-Con used to feel, and they're more intimate and they're more fun. And that's what OEX is definitely like. So I'm more interested in the smaller shows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. Like there's always, I don't know, to me, I'm really conflicted right now for my situation because generally speaking, like for my girlfriend, it's not a great thing when I go away.
Yeah, you've got a young baby. Yeah, you've got a young kid at home.
Yeah. But generally speaking, I think that even when he's going to be like 8 or 9, she's not going to enjoy that part of my job of traveling. Because she doesn't. That's it. Like she doesn't like when I'm away. And
right. And Steph didn't either.
And especially now that we have a kid, that's a plus, meaning that it makes things practical difficult for her. So
sure.
There's a part of me that really feels guilty every time I gotta leave. And and so whenever I leave, I try to make it as effective as possible, meaning that, it's one thing if you leave, you do a small show and you don't make any money and you have a good experience, a good human experience, but you don't make any money. It's another thing when you come back with a lot of money. So at least you're like, yeah, but I was working and this is the proof, like the money in our bank account is the proof that I was going there and work and, and it was definitely worth it.
I get that. I get that.
And if it's just, if I just go to a show, I don't make any money, and plus I have a lot of fun at the show, that makes me feel even more guilty, Right now. It didn't used to be like that, but, now it is. So I gotta, I gotta find a way.
I remember when my kids were younger going to cons, and we'd be in the hotel room, you and me, and like, Steph would call and the kids were being a problem. And it was just like, it was like awful. You'd be laughing at me while I was on the phone dealing with all the trouble.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I remember one time she had to fill out a complicated form for something to request something. I don't know whatever fuck it was. Oh, and I remember I was just looking at you. You were trying to explain to her, okay, so yeah, for that, you got to look into that file and to find that number, you got to, what do you mean you don't find? No. You were getting like, your head was getting lower and lower and was just laughing my ass off. Oh my God.
I remember that.
Yeah, man.
But then I got off the phone and we had a nice dinner and we went out for drinks.
Yeah, fuck Steph.
Dude, if Steph and Zoe ever listen to this podcast, they're going to be so mad at you. Because last week it was fuck Zoe.
No, and every time it comes from a place of love, so. But
they know this.
But yeah, I understand, and especially, and then the extra thing is that every time I leave, my son gets sick immediately. The day I leave for some fucked up reason.
That's the law. The same thing with me. I remember I'd be getting on a flight and I'd get a text like one of the kids just puked all over the living room. I'm like, oh boy, I'm glad I'm getting the fuck out of here.
I'm not there.
Exactly. But I do want to talk about, because I get this question a lot. Like people are like young artists who want to like do this. I don't even want to say break in because it's so different now. Like you're not breaking in, you're just building a career in it.
Yeah.
They ask about doing shows, and I want to talk about your thoughts on the importance of doing conventions and what the focus of doing conventions is. Because I always ask them, well, what are your goals? Because if you tell me you want to work for Marvel and DC, it's like, I don't even know how to advise you, because at the big shows where Marvel and DC is, can you even find editors anymore?
Well, back then you could, like around 2010, 2012, you could. Now I don't even think it's possible.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think they do portfolio reviews anymore.
Exactly. It used to be Marvel and DC would have portfolio review schedules and you'd sign up for them. DC had a raffle every morning where you get in there as early as you can, you put your name on a list, and then you'd come back and check to see if you got chosen, and you'd have a time. Yeah. And you did it every day. And I think I got every show I went to, I did get seen at least once. And then Marvel, I mean, both companies used to have the editors right there at the booth. Yeah. So you could just walk up to an editor and drop off a sample packet. But those days are gone. Editors are not at the booth anymore, I don't think.
I mean, it might happen sometimes that there's some shows, maybe some editors are there, but generally speaking, that's not what I hear. But at the same time, I gotta say this thing as well. I'm not in that part of my life anymore of looking for that kind of thing. So it might be possible that they still do it. I'm just not aware of it. But I remember that before it was a thing. Like I remember it being a popular thing that everybody knew, you know?
Right. But I do know that's not the case anymore, because I do ask like young kids, and I remember it became a thing. Like I was working and I would always go talk to editors just to like line up future work. And then it just became a thing where they just weren't at the booth anymore, but they do walk around Artist Alley.
Yeah, for sure. Editors are there.
So I don't know how, as someone,
if you're not set up, it's really hard. You know, even thinking that you're gonna be talking to this editor if they're just walking around like that. How do you,
Yeah, how do you even approach that?
Yeah.
So I asked these kids, like, I think the best thing you can get from a con is talking to artists. I think is probably the best thing you can do. Getting advice, getting feedback. And I always, if I see someone's work that is fucking ready to go, I will help them find a publisher if that's what they want, or give them advice on self-publishing and put them on our live show or on the podcast and expose them that way. I think a lot of artists are like that. I know you do that. You look out for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about a guy that I fucked the other day, and no. No, I was thinking about this guy.
But long and skinny, short and girthy.
It was short and skinny. The way I like them.
That's the one. Yeah. I'm not gonna say it. Yeah, I could go racist right now, but I'm not gonna say it.
I like them when they look like a clit more. Where I can lick them like.
Holy fuck.
So I was thinking about this guy, and by the way, for everybody listening, just go. I might have talked about this guy already, but his name is Andrea Cucchi. I think that his Instagram handle is Il Cooks, and we'll make sure that Jamie will have it somewhere. Here, somewhere.
I think we've talked about. You've told me about him
before. Oh yeah. You know about him. He's really young, and I mean probably like in a age talent ratio, there's nobody I think like him right now. Like, it's so incredibly talented. It's one of those guys that he watches something and he can immediately understand like the technique and replicate that. You know, as a consequence, the problem is that it's hard to find his, you know, to see his style because he can do it all. Right. And that's the main problem when you're looking for a publisher or something.
Right. Is this the guy you hooked up with Tommy? To
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you got him a job drawing Tommy Lee Edwards' comic at the video game company.
Yeah. And I showed his stuff before that. I showed his stuff. Incredible. Yeah. And I showed his stuff to Rick as well, to Millar, and everybody's in love with his stuff. I remember in Como, I showed his stuff to Adam Kubert, and he wanted me to introduce him to him. Yeah. So we walked by his table because Andrea was there, and I introduced them. And I think that even Adam even bought something from me. I don't know, but this whole thing is not just to say how good I am. It's just that I genuinely I am good. But it's genuinely to say that when I get really excited about someone, I really, really, really want them to succeed. And in general, I want everyone to succeed. Like, I'm not one of those guys that thinks that, oh, if you get it, you're taking away stuff from me. I never think
because you're not.
No.
Yeah, and there's enough to feed everyone. Yeah.
And so yeah, for example, I was thinking about him because probably by now is probably about to be done with Tommy's project. I think it was like 8 issues or 9 issues or something, or 10 issues.
I don't know.
So as soon as he finishes, I want to get in touch with him again and try to get him something else. I waited on purpose because I didn't want to interfere with his schedule on Tommy's work, but yeah, absolutely. I absolutely want to help him.
Yeah. That's so telling artists, like giving them advice on cons. I think getting in front of artists, to get good feedback on your work, to learn what to work on, and B, if you're ready, I think most artists are willing to help you get somewhere with what you want to do. But that being said, what shows do you recommend? You know, that's a tricky one.
Well, I would say you got to find that soft spot between having a lot of them and also probably a place that it's where the rhythm is a little more relaxed. So
yeah, well, that's true.
So probably I would say Heroes Con. I think it's a great option because a lot of artists are there, and generally speaking, there's a big community of artists there. Even people that are still amateur, so you can build community with your peers as well. So there's a lot of things you can do there, other than just show your stuff to other professionals, and. But I would say New York is great as well. I mean, we were reviewing portfolios in New York a few months ago.
I mean, that's how I met. We talked about Camille last time. That's how I met Camille, and now Camille's working. So, so do you remember meeting an artist named Tiago? Do you remember Tiago?
Oh, Tiago, yeah, the Brazilian guy. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, exactly. So, Tiago's amazing. He was at New York last year, but he recently emailed me asking, like, because he's in Brazil and he can really only afford to come to the States once.
Yeah.
And he was like, I hear about Heroes. Should I not do New York? Should I do Heroes? And my advice to him was, I think you're better off at New York. Just because there's more artists and you never know if you're going to be amongst an editor or a publisher, because Tiago's got good social skills and he ends up hanging out with us and stuff. But also I was like, but Baltimore is the weekend after New York. So if you can afford to do it, you can do New York and Baltimore all in one trip. And I was like, that might be the way to go. Because Baltimore, I haven't. Have you ever done Baltimore?
Yeah, I did it twice in the past. It was always great, a great show. That's why I'm thinking about doing it this year after New York. The problem is that something that I mentioned earlier.
I know.
It's a lot of days away. So
that's a long trip.
Yeah. My original idea, I had an idea for that, to bring the family, but with also my girlfriend's brother's family. Mm-hmm. So they could go together, and then they would leave, and I'll just do Baltimore by myself, but it's just going to be, like 3 days away from home, So we could be together for the initial part of the trip, and then I would do Baltimore by myself.
Here's an idea. This might work. Come into New York, do the con. Have them come to New York like on Sunday, and then we can stay in the city for a few days, and they can do the city. Or maybe they come in Saturday, and they can see the city for a few days. Then they go back to Italy, and we go to Baltimore. So it's like it's in the middle.
Yeah. That was the idea, more or less. But the problem is that their kid, their daughter, will be starting middle school right then.
Oh, okay.
So the idea of making her skip an entire week of school, a new school that she just started, it wasn't, it was too much for them. So they might not be able to do that. I'm going to ask them again if they want to do it, but I might not be able. In that case, being away for more than 10 days, it would be.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Oh, when I go to Italy for 10 days, I catch hell. That's a lot. Like the first time I went, that big trip. I mean, everyone was thrilled I was going to Italy, but boy, I was gone for a long time.
Do you still, even nowadays, where your kids are all, older than 18, like they're 21 and 19?
22 and 19.
22 and 18. Yeah. Even nowadays, you get some shit if you leave for too long.
No. Now it's just I miss you. You're not here. It's lonely. You're not here. That it's not shit. It's just missing you.
Yeah, but and also that thing of you're enjoying yourself somewhere else, and I can't. So probably
not so much that, because honestly, Steph's favorite thing to do in the world is just sit in bed and smoke weed. So she's not mad about, she knows I am a social person, and I like to go out with my friends and have dinner and drink and have fun. So she's not mad at that, because she's like, well, I'm glad he can do it, so I don't have to do it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But if I'm going somewhere exotic, like if I'm going to Chicago, it's like, okay, have a good time.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, I'm going to Greece, it's going to be like, what?
Okay, that's what I meant. When you travel to the States somewhere else in the States. I meant when you travel Abu Dhabi, Greece, Italy, those places.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi, she wouldn't have gone. I think I was able to even invite her. I think they were going to pay for her ticket, but she was like, I do not want to go. I don't want to be on a plane that long. I don't want to go to the Middle East. She was like, you shouldn't be going there.
Oh, yeah, right. She's racist as well. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. I forgot. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. My wife and my best friend, they're racist. I like racist people. But every time I went to Italy, like Como, it was like, I was sending her pictures of the trip, and she's very happy for me. She's like, it looks amazing. She's like, I wish I was there. It's not fair. Like,
you know what you should do? Whenever you get into that kind of trip, before getting to the nice areas, you have them bring you to shitty areas, and you take a lot of pictures there, like the suburbs of Como, which probably it's a shit show. And then you send her those pictures, so she's not that envious.
It's really boring. Yeah. The food here is not so great.
Yeah.
But so the minute I was like, they're inviting us to Greece next year, I think she's like, can I go? I'm like, well, if they'll pay for you. But then in my head, I'm like, I'm going to want to like go out and drink wine and hang out all night. And you're going to be like, let's go to bed. Come on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that would be a problem probably. Yeah, it's the same with me. The same problem that I had when I brought the family.
Yeah, exactly.
2 years ago.
Exactly. But the best thing was taking the trip to Italy with the family, not as part of a con, because we were able to do it perfectly and we had a great time. So
yeah.
What up, gangsters? Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah. I'll call you back. Call you back in a second, okay? Hey, Shawn. Nothing special. Just got back from the Lamborghini showroom. I've ordered 3. How about you, Jim?
Yeah, man. Just ordered the exclusive Inkpulp Learjet, fully wrapped.
Well, why'd you guys do that? Did you win the lottery?
Well, I figured since we just launched our Patreon, gonna get rich, right?
Oh, that's right. Today's the day we launched the Patreon. It's only $5 a month. You get access to 4 extra 30-minute episodes a month of the Inkpulp Podcast. You get early access to the Inkpulp Podcast episodes. You're going to have special access on our Discord channel and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. Just $5.
Whoa, Shawn, did you just say it's only $5?
It's only $5.
Shit. I gotta make a phone call. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, Joey, go ahead and cancel that Learjet order. Not gonna happen. Definitely need the full refund.
Hey, listen. You gotta cancel that order that just made.
Fellas, where'd you go? The Inkpulp private yacht's about to pull up. I'm going to pick you guys up. We're heading to Greece.
But yeah, going back to the original subject, which was, Thiago. But is he want to be tabling there at the show or just be at the show?
No, I think he just wants to be at the show to talk to artists. Although I think for him, his work is ready to be tabling, but I don't know if he's published himself enough to be tabling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your work can be really good, but if you don't have stuff to put out in front of you, it can look bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know. I think mainly, honestly, he wants to learn from artists and get to know the community. So
yeah.
I was like, I think New York. I said New York because you have more artists in one area than any other show.
Yeah, absolutely. And also thinking about the show, you know, again, he's a really social guy, so it's easy for him to find friends, to make friends in general. But other than that, like I'm thinking, if you go to a show and there's artists, but then after the show you don't have anything else to do. Like, at least in New York, you're in New York. You get to experience New York as well after the show.
Right.
You know, in case you don't make any particular friends, you know.
Right, because Heroes Con would be so awful if you were there alone and didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
Because Charlotte isn't, it's not a bad city. I like Charlotte, but it's not like, there's not much to see there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem. So... But yeah, generally speaking, I would tell an aspiring artist to do shows, and also not just to have your work critiqued, also to see how professionals handle themselves at shows.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I remember it was a great experience for me. For example, the first year my first year in the States in 2008 in San Diego. I have no clue on how to table. Like the only times I did it before, I was just a guest of a publisher. So I would sit down at their table at specific times just to sign books and do a free sketch inside of the books. So it was a great shock when I found myself in San Diego. Right next to me, I remember I had Ryan Otley, who was like banging out like invincible commissions one after the other, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And everybody had a sketchbook or an art book. Everything was so new to me. And I remember I absorbed a lot from that experience. It was overwhelming in that moment. Yeah. But when I came back, I was so energized. So much so that I printed my own sketchbook and I started doing shows to, just to sell it and start doing, Do
you remember which sketchbook that was? The first one you did? Did it have a name?
It was the title of it was "I'm my own best fan." Sorry, I'm my own best fan, and the subtitle was 100% self-celebrative.
That's awesome.
So the book, every time the book would start with like 5 illustrations with me as the main hero, but crazy like. In a fun way, how do you call ironic
self-promotion?
No.
Right. Yeah.
It was me in stupid situation like fighting some weird people. Me dressed. It was one of them was me dressed as Red Riding Hood, and a big wolf behind me. And I was just naked under the hood with just 2 Uzi guns in my head, like waiting for a wolf. It's just a stupid stuff.
Speaking of this time, I'm going to grab something, see if you remember this.
Yeah. Ooh, that's the position I like you in.
All right. Do you remember this drawing?
Oh shit! Yeah. I remember that.
I just made a perfect. Dude, this is funny. We might need to change the name of the perfect. Someone, I think, left a comment, was like, "I'll never forget the origin of the perfetto." I was like, "Oh, we always call it the perfect, but maybe it should be the perfetto."
Well, actually, in Italy, like the people that know what we're talking about, we call it a perfect. So we don't say perfetto. Oh, okay. We say a perfect.
So it's an actual term in Italy?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way: the reference. Like if you, sorry, I'm just distracted because I see there's one device that's added to my account. There's an iPhone that now has access to iMessage and FaceTime. Oh, fuck.
Sometimes when it updates, it does it.
I gotta do something about that, I think. Anyway, sorry.
Don't worry about it.
So depending on the context, like if you're with young people, well, young, as long as like my age, either from the 80s or something, and the context is clear, like you're taking a shit and you talk about perfect, people kind of understand what you're talking about. Let's put it this way. It's not you wouldn't find it on a dictionary for sure, but in general,
right. But when you said it the first time I heard you say it, we were on a podcast. Like that moment is recorded. I was recording with Eric.
Yeah.
And when you said it, I knew exactly what you meant, but I had never heard that term before. Yeah. And it was so perfect for what it was. I lost my shit. It was so good. So I thought you just made it up right there on the spot.
No. It wasn't made it up in the spot. Like it was something that we used in general, but I can't tell you. And I'm being honest here, I can't tell you if I was the first one to use it or if it already existed. It's one of those things that you never know. Right. You never know when it was created, But yeah.
I got you.
So why did we end up talking about perfect? Oh, yeah, because you showed me the sketch, yeah. So,
yeah.
So, yeah, in general.
Yeah, you were talking about your early sketchbooks.
Yeah, so in general, and then I made a second volume of that. So it was, I'm my own best fan, 200% self-celebrative. And yeah, generally speaking, watch, a show is a nice way to see how, how professionals, present themselves at shows, because especially in our job, there's not a lot of, other than that, the only time you see me is just, you only see my drawings on, on a book. So you never see me.
Which is why podcasting has been really good for us at shows. People recognize us now.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. Yeah, even to this day, you and I remember when we have time, we take a walk around and see other artists, the way they display stuff, and
I'm still trying to figure out like what's the best way to put your stuff out at a con. Some things are just too much. They're so like the people who like. I think Babs does this. They build like a whole thing around them, and it's just like their face.
Yeah,
and everything's behind something. Like that would be so claustrophobic to be sitting there all day dealing with that.
Yeah, I don't like it. I remember when Micah was with us for a brief second. She had the same, more or less the same thing. Oh, probably she didn't have the top part, but she had a huge thing.
Print tower,
and I don't know. Like I wouldn't feel good with that kind of setting, to be honest.
Yeah, me
like
too.
I love what we're doing now. We have the prints in the back.
Yeah,
the thing
so
that
much
I
better.
see, it happens. Like a lot of people, if they don't have it right here in front of their fucking face, they don't see it. So it might bring less people to buy prints. Shows, but
I had the opposite experience. I sold more prints last New York than I've sold in a long time. I sold out of my prints. I've never done that before, and they were behind me. But I had them presented well, and we had like a whole sign for them. I might have also been telling everyone, like Jim taught me, like show people what you got. Like, oh, I've got these prints back here, and they're like, oh,
yeah.
So I think it like. For us, it's becoming more and more about communicating with the people rather than just drawing with your head down the whole time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, especially now with the podcast, like a lot of people want to stop by, and maybe sometimes they have a quote from something that happened in a specific episode and stuff like that. So interaction for sure plays a role in that.
And we always have little good freebies. Like I got these for Chicago.
Oh, that's awesome.
And also, you know what else I got? I remember the new Sesame Street Muppet and the Eric version. I got stickers of the Eric one.
Oh, shit.
Hi, I'm Eric.
we keep doing stuff with him, using him without even asking for consent. So there's a bunch of merch and stuff with his face on just going around in the world.
Yeah, well, Eric's presence is missed.
We actually asked him today because just right before started to record, he sent us a message with, "Have a good show, guys." So and every time I don't know how to take that. Like, meaning, does it miss us? Like, I think that sometimes he's like, "Oh, they're recording. I kind of miss recording that." Okay. But then there's another part of his brain who cannot accept that.
Right.
So I asked him if he wanted to join us today. Or I know we're like, my wife and kids are sick. I can't. So I'm not going to
see. My thought is he was like, my wife and kids are sick, so I can't do the show. So let me reach out to them and wish them a good show so that when they ask me, I can say no.
Probably that was the old process that led to that.
If he was free and we were like, hey, you want to do the show? He'd be like, oh shit, now I have to do the show.
Yeah. That was probably it.
Yeah. So last time we talked about all the projects coming up. We talked about our supplies. I keep wanting to have this conversation with Jim. And I think it would be like with me, you, and Jim. But my question is, because this is a good conversation, and we only have 10 minutes left, so maybe we can start in on it and finish it with Jim. How important do you think it is to maintain a freelance presence if you're really self-publishing? Like for someone like Jim, he still does covers. Yeah. And I wanted to talk to him about, like, is that important for your career and why? And then you, I wanted to ask, because you've always been more freelance and now you're going to probably self-publish your first project. So what are you thinking moving ahead?
Yeah, I think it is important. And that's why I always try, even when working on my book, I keep, I keep making sure that I have stuff on the shelves with my name on it. Because I think it's a great promotional, thing to do,
right?
In terms of, it has it potentially, promotionally speaking, it has a lot of value, and
okay,
yeah, because I still see, like, the way it works, unless you get to a point where you are like a name and that's it. Like, I don't know, Paul Pope is one of those.
Okay.
Paul Pope,
fair,
like he's
fair.
Paul Pope. And but aside from that, like, there's always gonna be some industry leading elements. And, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be liking what you do because you are on a specific title. And there's a lot of people that, generally speaking, maybe they only read like 5 titles and that's it. They don't read anything else. They don't think at least they need to read other stuff. And it's another way to bring attention to your stuff from those people, because maybe 1 out of 10 of them will see, I don't know, they only read Batman stuff and they see a cover that you did for Batman. They're like, oh, I like this guy. Who's this guy? Oh, Mattteo Scalera. Oh, let's see. And then they look into you and what you've done and maybe buy stuff.
But do you think having a podcast that becomes popular and a social media presence can replace that?
I think they're 2 different things, They're 2 different things and 2 different audiences. Like, they might be, still, I believe that most of the people that, are subscribed to our channel are comic book fans. They don't just like us talking. And but what was it, the thing? But there's it's 2 different things, because some people they will start following whatever we do because they listen to the podcast and they like us as people,
right?
From what we show here on the show.
Wait. Nobody likes us as people. Let's be real.
But there's something that they like about us,
Yes, yeah. I agree,
Probably not as human beings, but there's something. Maybe they like the lights, your glasses, probably. There's something.
Yeah,
that
it's
like,
my glasses.
So, yeah, and but also there's people that will like us because we did Batman.
Yes, that's true.
So I don't want to use the term fishing, but fishing from both, but I'm going to use it anyways. So fishing from both
ponds.
It's Makes sense.
Yeah. Why didn't you want to use the term fishing? It sounds perfect.
No, but it means like I'm gonna fish, like I'm gonna capture some, like, I'm gonna.
I see what you're saying.
It sounded kind of, sneaky.
All right. Okay. How about swimming in both pools? How's that sound? Better?
Yeah. Fucking both chicks.
Okay. Oh.
Is that better?
Now we're talking.
So.
And because I agree with you, and I do think they are two separate worlds in a way. I mean, there's a lot of crossover, but you can expose in one direction that'll benefit you, but don't ignore the other. I think is a smart way to go. But then let me ask the reverse question.
Sorry, let me elaborate on that. It's another analogy could be that it's more or less like if right now you do, you have a book and you open by crowdfunding it with Kickstarter, and then you find a publisher like, I don't know, Image Comics, and you publish the TPB with them,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some parts in which those two words touch, but generally speaking, there's also two groups that are really separated. In between the pledgers on Kickstarter and
Massive Publishing, when we spoke to those guys, they were like, these are two different markets, and we need to hit both markets. So I think there's some wisdom in that. But conversely, because having a show now and putting so much energy into this, we're reaching a lot of the guests we're having on or some of them are mainly freelancers. So for them, like having a camera and a mic, it's all very new. So my question to you is the reverse of my original ask. If you're having a freelance career, is it important to then build a presence in podcasting and social media?
It's hard to say, to be honest with you, because like doing podcasts helps building an audience. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it might be creating more job opportunities in the freelance world, but it's not an answer that I can give you, without any doubt. Like I don't know, to be honest with you.
So, yeah, my experience and sort of the litmus test for all this was my Spawn cover. Like my first one, I got work doing covers for Spawn because of the podcast and social media, because that, Jonathan and I became friendly over social media, but it was him showing Thomas Healy the show and getting Todd McFarlane on the show and all that. It all led to a cover, but then the cover led to people discovering me like on the shelf and stuff, which did happen. So I think it is important to do both. I think the podcasting really comes into play more so when you're going to self-publish and do crowdfunding. So like, let's say you're a hot Marvel artist and you start a podcast. It might help you a little bit. But if you're a hot Marvel artist who then is going to go do an image book or kickstart your own book, I think that it'll help you more in that arena.
Yeah.
Is my guess.
Yeah, I think that like with everything else, and especially now where you have so many options as opposed to, years and years ago when you didn't have that many options. Now you have all social media outlets you can think of, whatever you want to do. Like it's within reach. Any tool is valuable potentially. You gotta find like you have to find who you are and what's best for you and what works best for you and what kind of combination works with you properly, So it's more or less like very true. It's more or less like, I don't know, I'm gonna bring up another analogy, but we were talking about cars right before starting to record because you were enjoying your new car. So let's say you want to be, the cars are going to be your life, So depending on the way you drive and the things you're good at or not, you're going to be deciding, unless you have all the money in the world and buy, everything. But even then, you might encounter some problems because it's not enough just buying all the good stuff for a car. It's a balance, So if you're really bad on curves, when there's you have to turn and you tend to, lose control of your car, just buy better tires, and whatever, buy or if you suck at, braking, buy better brakes, buy a better braking system. It's so you have all these elements that can help you in your career. But for example, like how many people do you know in our job that are awkward as fuck? It's a lot of people.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
So I don't think that a person should be on a public platform, but not
because that could hurt them.
Yeah, it can hurt them, so it's not convenient, and there's and that's why there's also people that, they're content with just do that book for the rest of their life. And that's it, working for, they find Marvel, for example, they give them work constantly and they're pretty much good with it. They have their fan base. Sometimes, unfortunately, that fan base is not related to them, but to the fact that they are in a specific book. And that's, that's a downside. But still, you do shows, people recognize you, they come at your table with a big pile of book to sign, and that's it.
And there's people like Umberto who have built a amazing career on like drawing Spider-Man. So totally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, it's the same thing that we were talking about last time about techniques and the stuff of the material you use. I can tell you that this is the stuff that I use, and there's good quality stuff. But other than that, if if it's not for you, I wouldn't suggest you do it. So again, I go back to being a great observer, like even internal observer, like observe yourself and the way you work and trying to understand what's best for you, and not just because there's, a textbook that says this is what you should do,
Right. And that is the best advice ever. And you're a prime example of why that advice is so good, to be an observer, because it's made you the amazing artist you are and the amazing podcaster now that you are, Mattteo.
What was the term that I use when I double up? Double up. You remember?
Yes. All right. So take us out of here, and then we'll do the Patreon stuff.
All right.